The Miami Dolphins ran wild on the New York Jets in Week 14, and I have all of my biggest takeaways from the game here today on Locked On Dolphins.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Miami, welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami on Substack, NFL staff writer for A to Z Sports. Want to give a special welcome and a shout out to our everydayers because it is your team every day. We don't just say it, we live it here on the Locked On Network. And a special thank you to all of you who have helped make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of all the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. The Dolphins win again. I think we can all agree, should not be a controversial take. Winning is fun. Winning is especially fun when it comes against the New York Jets, one of the Dolphins' fierce AFC East rivals. And of course, the Jets made the decision to shred their roster from top to bottom at the trade deadline and load up on a bunch of draft picks. And they played like a team that shredded their roster for a bunch of future draft picks in Week 14, hosting the Miami Dolphins. And Miami obviously romps on the ground. They get out to a super fast, hot start. Jets' only touchdown comes on special teams, courtesy of a punt return. So going back and had a chance to kind of rewatch the game, collect my thoughts on a lot of different fronts. And I want to start with the rushing game for Miami because it's the centerpiece of the offense. It's the main storyline right now as it pertains to how the Dolphins are going out and winning football games and the ways in which they are having success. Dolphins had two players that played 100% of the snaps in this game. It was Jonas Savaiinaea and Patrick Paul. Both played 65 out of 65 snaps. Cole Strange plays 63. Austin Jackson and Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Brewer play 58. Jaylen Waddle plays 51. And then you're kind of down into the hodgepodge of rotational skill players. And then you had the Jays, right? Is my good friend Austin, his dad, when we were in high school playing high school football together. Anytime you get up big, he'd stand up and start yelling and say, "Put the J's in, the JVs." So we had like Zach Wilson, Larry Borum, D. Eskridge, Keon Smith. The Jays got a little run time at the end of the game. So anytime you're finishing up a football game and the Jays are in, you had a good day at the office. So the Dolphins, you look at the tight end usage and this team's personnel packaging, you put Daniel Brunskill in that conversation as well. Greg Dulcich played 35 snaps in this game. That's a pretty hefty amount. Julian Hill played 33. Greg Dulcich was the highest snapping tight end on the roster in this game. It's like, what if we had Tanner Conner, the concept of Tanner Conner, but it was a good football player? It's Greg Dulcich. It's a pretty good deal, right? So Greg Dulcich, Julian Hill plays 33. Darren Waller plays 24. Daniel Brunskill plays 19 snaps. Heavy personnel packages. And the way in which the Dolphins played this game, what was most impressive to me was the nasty that they played with up front, whether that's Patrick Paul on the Achane touchdown, whether that's Aaron Brewer on probably 24 plays throughout the course of the game and the way that he finishes reps, whether that's Cole Strange getting up on the second level. I thought Cole Strange played one of his better games. I'm not super high on Cole Strange. I think from a pass protection standpoint, you saw some of the warts where the touchdown pass, the pressure and the hit that Tua took was Cole Strange. The missed 3rd and 2 in the first quarter where Tua goes for Waller on a crosser and it's a little high and behind him. There's a guy at his feet. Where'd it come from? Cole Strange. Man, the run blocking, when this becomes the identity of what you are and who you are and what you're doing, and you can be assertive and be aggressive, you're seeing some functional reps and some very good work on the second level for Cole Strange. I still think he's probably your biggest question mark as as far as securing the point of attack in short yardage areas, and it'd be the last place I would go to tuck the ball if I was trying to run in the short yardage obvious situation. But Cole Strange played pretty good. It was up on these linebackers and dogging these guys a little bit. Jonas Vaitanaya probably played, in my opinion, the most complete game that he's played all season. Was it perfect? No. But you've seen like the lights in the house started flickering, right? And not like I got the Christmas lights strung up like Stranger Things with the alphabet type of like the whole light, your whole house. It's teasing the power coming back on and the light bulb coming on. And for Jonah, it's been doing that for a couple weeks. I thought he played well again in this game. Now, it wasn't perfect as far as offensive penalties. Pat had one. Austin had one. Jalen Waddle had a ticky-tack one. Malik Washington had a false start. Julian Hill. So there's 5 penalties on that side of the ball, and some of those kind of took you out of advantageous down and distances, and you really can't do that when you are a run-first team. If you're not humming the way that you want to be in the passing offense. But, man, like, just the way in which they pushed the Jets around made the Jets, and the Jets came into this game, Jets roster had a talent drain. But at the same time, the Jets had also come into this game kind of hot. They'd found some wins. They felt like they were making some progress. And I don't think Tyrod Taylor's departure from this game on the other side of the ball is the deciding factor. You know, the Dolphins, if you include the pick 2 defensively, and we'll get to defense in just a minute, but if you include the pick 2 defensively, the Dolphins have 11 turnovers the last 4 games. And I don't think, maybe Tyrod is a little bit more risk averse, but, Brady Cook can move around a little bit, move in the pocket. I still think the Dolphins would have had a lot of success, especially with how the opening script went offensively. And then you come out and you go 9 plays with 8 runs for that touchdown in the fourth quarter that I just love to death as far as the demeanor and the approach, and Jaylen Wright getting a roll in the way that he did and him going downhill. Jaylen Wright had 11 carries of his 24 that went for between 6 and 11 or 6 and 12 yards. He did not have a single run go for more than 12 yards in this game. He finishes 24 for 107, and that includes a 3-yard loss when they decided to try to run outside when they didn't need to run outside all game long. They really just could have kept punching you in the face, and they chose to go outside and lost a couple yards on a run. Only 3 minus runs on 24 carries for Jaylen Wright. I think that's a huge deal. And then the Ollie Gordon touchdown run, and the way that Pat Paul's getting behind the pile. Brewer's coming running through. Austin Jackson's coming running through. Jonas Vaitanaya is literally lunging at the pile to try to give it that last extra push. Man, I love the demeanor in which they played up front. And I get it. You're going to get harder draws for guys to line up against. This week's going to be one of those occasions because you got Pittsburgh, right? And they're an up and down team. They just obviously beat Baltimore. They got Cam Hayward, right? They got Keanu Benton. They got TJ Watt. They got Alex Highsmith. They got ballers up front. So it's going to be a harder matchup. But if you can play with this level of aggression and demeanor, this group has what it takes to still have success. Maybe not 250 yards running success, but nevertheless, you can have success running the football. And I think it's sustainable what they're doing right now on the ground. That's exciting. Everything on offense, not exciting. But this element of it, yes, absolutely. And sustainable. The passing game contributions, I don't think are you need to have more to the passing offense. Now, maybe not when you're up 21-0 and the Jets get their first down 28 minutes into the football game, right? But I haven't done the full film deep dive yet. And I want to really invest the time there before I talk on where the passing game dried up in this contest. I know there was a couple missed throws, a couple missed plays, a couple situational things where you're backed up and the design of the plays. So I have a feeling, especially after I went back and I did the Touchdown Miami video on Substack last week for the Saints game and the passing offense there, there's a lot of layers to it. That's not as simple, and you can make it as simple if you want as we want a quarterback with a different skill set, and a quarterback with the skill set that we have isn't playing particularly well within the framework of what the offense is giving him. And I think that's true. But I don't want to just blanket sit here and say, oh, well, Tua didn't do X, Y, and Z. Because in the New Orleans game, there were some plays where I came out and said, well, I didn't see anywhere for him to go the ball. I didn't really like the design of that play. And, oh, well, these guys weren't on the same page and we had a wrong route and we had poor spacing issues or the protection breaks down here. So it's layered. And I'm not trying to assign the blame in a single area because when plays don't happen correctly, there's usually blame to go around on more than one front. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds on the passing game stuff just because I haven't done the full film deep dive yet. That's next on my list today, but I didn't want to make you guys wait for a show. So let's shift gears, go to the defensive side of the football, the defensive takeaways there, including two big areas in which, just like we're talking about with Jonas Vainaya, the lights are starting to flicker. We might be having the power come back on. We're going to get to that next here, Locked On Dolphins. Make sure you guys stick with us. Holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is officially on. And if that's something for you that can be daunting, you're looking for meaningful personal gifts that you're guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. There's no apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. For a limited time, you could save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using promo code LOCKEDON at checkout. That's auraframes.com. Promo code LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to listeners of the program, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Show the support by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions do apply. The Dolphins are on the road. They will be back for Cincinnati. If you're a Dolphins fan like me, you've probably experienced the game day joys of getting $100 on parking at Hard Rock Stadium, battling the traffic going in, and then sitting in your car for an hour when it's time to leave. What if I told you there was a better way? I found the new app that I think could make your game day experience more enjoyable. Dibs is a platform that connects you with verified homeowners and businesses near the stadium who rent out their driveways and lots on game day. We're talking about spots as low as $25. That's up to 80% cheaper than stadium parking, and you'll get in and out way faster. Every host is verified and rated, so you know exactly what you're getting. Dibs is available for games and events at the Hard Rock Stadium and is expanding across the state of Florida. Call Dibs on your spot today. Use promo code LOCKEDON20 for 20% off your first booking. Kyle Krabs back here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Locked On Dolphins Club Dub episode. I didn't really gas it up at the top of the show. And as we continue onward here with today's episode, did want to point out that if you already live your team every day, you can now take it up an extra level and go ad-free here on the program, joining the Everydayer Club today. And you can get the link to do so in the show description. Gives you an opportunity for ad-free programming here on Locked On Dolphins and all of your favorite Locked On programs, a Locked On Everydayers Discord, and more for $5 a month. And you can get the show description. It has the link for you to join the Everydayers Club if you're interested in taking your Everydayer status to the next level. Now, defensively in this game, working through snap counts, Ashton Davis played 58 to 59 snaps. The Jays got a lot of run on this side of the football as well. Now, Minka, Jordan Brooks, Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas played 43 snaps apiece. Tyrell Dotson had the hamstring scare, was back after the hamstring scare. I thought Tyrell Dotson the last 2 weeks against New Orleans and the Jets has played his best stretch of complete football in his now year and change with the Dolphins. Remember, he was a midseason addition for Miami off waivers in 2024. So he's playing some good football right now. Sieler, Chubb, Judon, Chop Robinson, Ifitu Melifonwu are all between 30 and 38 snaps apiece. Dante Trader, 29. Kenneth Grant, Zeke Biggers, Jordan Phillips, 27 to 24 snaps apiece. And then you're into the Jays with KJ Britt, Willie Gay, Jason Marshall, Ethan Bonner, Benito Jones, Cam Good. And shout out to a couple of those young guys, including Ethan Bonner, for making a big play at the end of the game to kind of come in and snatch away that interception in the red zone. Very good play for him. I know he's another one of those players, kind of like a Cole Strange, where I've not been the biggest fan, but you're always excited to see guys go out and make good plays. And a guy like Ethan Bonner is somebody that I think deserves some flowers for that play in particular, to go up and snatch the football. That was a cool moment. But as far as standouts on this side of the ball, Rasul Douglas really playing at a high level right now. Obviously, Jordan Brooks. We mentioned Tyrell Dotson. But the two players that I wanted to spotlight here are Zach Sieler and Chop Robinson, because these are important pieces to the puzzle for how sustainable the Dolphins' defensive growth is. And Zach had a monster day in this game from a production standpoint. 4 pressures, 2 sacks. The week prior, he had the fumble recovery. He has 3 run stops in this game as well. Zach Sieler does. And then Chop Robinson posts another 3 pressures in this game, back-to-back games with a sack, has a forced fumble on this one. And if you omit the Baltimore game, on which he only played 5 snaps total, you go Atlanta, Washington, New Orleans, New York is his last 4 full games that he has played. Low-key, we got 11 pressures in those last 4 games. And we set a season high in snaps with 45 against New Orleans. We play 32, which is our 3rd highest snap usage of the season in this game against the Jets. I think we're starting to show a little bit of consistency. And Anthony Weaver's talked about this before on a couple of fronts, that he feels that Chop's a player that the more he plays, the more into the flow of the game he gets, the better he is. And that's obviously not super sustainable. That's not desirable for a guy that you have to play him more to get better reps out of him. You know, ideally everybody's making the most out of all of their reps. But I think it's worth noting for Chop that this is kind of mirroring what his rookie season felt like, where it was very uneventful for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks. And then the light bulb comes on. And it's the same thing for Chop. We mentioned the last 4 games he's played, he's got 11 pressures. He had 1, 2, 3. It's six pressures in the first 7 weeks of the season. Chop Robinson did. Like that's a horrible track, right? For a guy that had 56 pressures last year. Last 2 weeks, we've been around the quarterback. 3 of our last 4 full games, we have 3 pressures apiece. We've got home to the quarterback, and we generated turnover this week against the Jets. And the Steelers, you know, they're a little banged up. Roderick Jones banged up at left tackle for them. This is a big opportunity for Miami against another quarterback that I think Brady Cook and Tyrod Taylor and Tyler Shuck and Marcus Mariota, these guys all move a lot better than what Aaron Rodgers is these days. And they're a heavy team, so they're not going to present you with a lot of vertical threats. So for Miami coming into this game against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, or excuse me, Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers, a guy like Chop coming to life and performing the way that he has been the last couple weeks could go a long way. And the same thing for Zach Sieler, who I think has had a similar glow up for very different reasons, obviously, where he's kind of saddled with bringing this whole young defensive tackle room together and kind of getting them all aligned and figuring out how to play. And they've done that now. And you could see like the balance of who's playing with who. I actually saw a successful stunt pit game run between Kenneth Grant and Jordan Phillips in this game, where Phillips is part of an interior pressure that flushes the Jets quarterback. I don't remember if it was Cook or Taylor off the top of my head, but flushes the quarterback off his spot with a twist early in the game. And that was the sore spot, right? Is that the guys running the picks together, how good of a feel for you have on what's the angle, how do I disengage off it without breaking stride, how do I set the pick and have the ability to spike up field if they both drop off to try to run over for the twist player. It's coming along. Very impressive. And the Dolphins defense, as we mentioned already, being fueled right now by turnovers, which they did not have a lot of early this season. That's been a massive difference maker. And against, you think about this game against the Jets, you think about the game against the Bills, you think about the turnover on downs with Washington late in the game. You want to include those as turnovers. This number is even higher, right? But they've turned away teams in the scoring area. I mean, they're a top 10 team in the NFL in red zone scoring defense as far as touchdown percentage. That and turnovers being two areas where you thrive is a great recipe for sustainability. So I'm not too focused on, oh, they did this against the Jets and this many yards. And I get it, right? It's like it's Brady Cook played quarterback. What do you really, and it was Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie, the wide receiver 1 and 2, right? Like, what are you really going to take away from the execution of an individual player in secondary other than, hey, Rasul Douglas has a great rep here where his eyes are back to the quarterback and he falls off the vertical and jumps the short route and almost has another pick. Or, hey, that's an amazing play by Tyrell Dotson where the ball pops up in the air and we squeeze it between our knees to ensure an interception where the ball doesn't hit the ground. Or, hey, that's a really nice pass rush move here or really good twist here and how it's executed. Like, it's more about the individual performances for me in a game like this than it is about the full statistical body of work, because you look on the other side and you know what time it is, right? There's a reason why that team's being talked about as a big time question mark for they're going to draft Fernando Mendoza or whatever else at quarterback. Giving out some game balls on the other side of the break. Make sure you guys stick with us here on Club Dub. The World Cup is coming back to North America, and if you want your tickets to the first time the World Cup's been back in the U.S. since 1994, GameTime is the app that is in the clutch for you. Makes fans a real advantage when it comes time to snagging seats. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, this is going to be a massive event for this upcoming World Cup. With GameTime, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment that they hit the app. Puts the power back in your hands as a buyer and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. So take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets. Every match, every concert, and every event with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. GameTime. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. I know the vibe on Sunday with the Dolphins certainly felt different when they gave up the punt return touchdown to make it 21-7. Felt like everybody spent the next 40 minutes of game clock white knuckling when the Jets can move the ball. But that's what momentum does, and that's what big plays do. It's what live betting on FanDuel can do for you as well, because it makes every moment in every game that much more exciting because you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, when somebody gets hot, when the defense tightens or momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into every moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly, player props that update as guys heat up, and you can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the games moves fast, and so can you. Didn't want to acknowledge from a special teams perspective, it was not a great day at the office for the Dolphins in that regard. It was actually a little disappointing to see the Dolphins kind of come out, and they really struggled with their kick coverage. They really struggled. Obviously, they have the punt return where you had several guys that missed tackles. I think that was the rep that Caleb Johnson got hurt on diving, trying to make the tackle. Ethan Bonner's the first guy down there, and he kind of, the returner turns away from him, and Ethan just kind of dives and swipes at his foot and misses, and then it comes back into where Bonner was, but he's run himself out of the play and laying on the ground because he dove at his feet, and then we get out the back door, and then you're down there, and it's Ashton Davis is getting blocked, and Alec Ingold's out in front of it, but trying to stop it, but there's three guys out in front, and Jake Bailey gets run around and crossed up in the open field, and Bonner tries to tackle him again inside the 10, but he dives at his feet again and doesn't make the play. So special teams was a sore spot. I do think Miami has had a pretty strong statistical showing with special teams thus far this season. But when you break it out by game, uh, this was a massive disappointment as far as what special teams provided you. And that's the second game this season in which it showed up. And the Dolphins should consider themselves fortunate that this one was not in a position to cost you a game like it was the first time that the Dolphins had a game like that. And that was against the New England Patriots in week 2. Now, this was from an EPA perspective, the Dolphins' worst special teams performance of the year. Their best performance was against Washington. That was obviously boosted by they have a turnover ball off a muff punt that creates a short field. They didn't take advantage of it, but that's EPA only tracking the results on special teams plays. That's a big moment in that game. The Jets game this year, from an EPA perspective, ranked 3 times worse than the next worst game that the Dolphins have played on special teams all season long. So consistently across the board on every front. So I know a lot of Dolphins fans were kind of fed up mid-game about that special teams performance on top of the onside kick exchange at the end of the Saints game. So this has been a little bit of a rough patch. Eager to see how this team kind of responds and reacts. Speaking of EPA, do want to acknowledge the Dolphins defensively posted the 5th highest individual game EPA by a defense all season long. The only individual game performances that ranked higher in defensive EPA, Minnesota against the Bengals, which is a 48-10 win. The Seahawks against Minnesota, which was a 26-0 win. The Cleveland Browns against the Dolphins, which was a 31-6 win for Cleveland. And then the Bucs, the first time they played the Saints, was a 23-3 win. So, this is pretty impressive territory that the Dolphins defense statistically measures in this game. But again, that's why I don't put it too much with a grain of salt, because you look at the personnel and you understand, hey, this needs to be applauded for how well they have played. I will say defensively, the Dolphins the last 2 weeks have logged consecutively their highest defensive EPA performances of the season in back-to-back games. It's not bad. Not bad at all. We are certainly trending in the right direction in that regard. As far as game balls for this game, Zach Sieler has the multiple sacks, multiple quarterback hits, big-time presence in the game. Jaylen Wright, for me, with over 100 yards rushing, I think deserves a game ball as well. I would put out, I'm going to do 2 more, and I'm going to stay on defense. Tyrell Dodson, not the tackle sponge that we've come to expect for Jordan Brooks, who had a down game in tackles because the defense didn't play any reps. But Tyrell Dodson with the interception, and the last 2 weeks for him have been very strong performances. And then I'll go one more on the offensive side of the ball. Although I do want to acknowledge that Riley Patterson kicking a long field goal 50+ was nice to see. Let's see. We should probably go up front for somebody with a tonality perspective. I'll go Aaron Brewer. I mean, guys, he was burying people on the football field. Play in and play out. If you have not taken the time, go to NFL Pro or whatever it is, just watch Brewer. Don't watch the ball. Don't watch the assignments. Don't watch 2 in the pocket. Just watch Brewer and have a blast. Because I do. And I hope you guys do too. That is going to do it for this Victory Monday episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. Appreciate you guys for all checking out the show. Hope you guys come back, see us again tomorrow. We're going to get some more into some of the film stuff that we had a chance to dive into in this game. Talk a little bit about where the Dolphins are at as a team. Chance to get back to 500 against Pittsburgh on Monday night next week. So lots of stuff to get into, lots of stuff to debrief, lots of stuff to start to prep for this game against the Steelers. We'll start doing all that the rest of the week here on the show. Kyle Krabs, keep it locked in right here, Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day. Appreciate you all. Talk to you all again soon. Go Fins.